Hello, Gems. Welcome to another episode of Tiaras and Tech. I'm your host, Shelley Benhoff, and today I'm talking to Deepthi Katta about work-life balance. She is a fellow Sitecore Technology MVP, senior technical architect, and a mother. We talked about everything from how having children has affected her career to thoughts on how companies can support working mothers, which has never been more important than right now. Without further ado, on to the episode. Hey, Deepthi, welcome to Tiaras and Tech. I'm so glad you're here. Thank you so much for taking the time out of what I'm, absolutely sure is a very, very busy day.
No, thank you. Thank you so much for having me. And I was so excited to have some, girl time with with both of us on the call. So I was looking forward to it. So thank you for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's jump right in. You, just like me, are a Sitecore Technology MVP. We code,
Yeah.
Microsoft stack and all of that. I was interested to hear from you how you started coding and what made you, as a woman, study computer science in school.
Yeah, this is a very interesting one, and I don't know if you had girl time with other Indian origin women, but for me, my background and where I grew up is in India, and my family background, right, is all professional. Like meaning, in India, you have like a professional family and you have a business family, and mine was rooted in a professional family because my grandfather was, one of the first doctors in our small town back in India. So ours was considered a privileged and b professional family, right? uh, so yeah, for me, when a girl is born in a professional family, back then, I don't know if things changed in India now, but back then, when you're born in a professional family such as mine, you have literally two options. Like, you want to become a doctor, you want to become an engineer. Doctors and engineers are the two most prevalent occupations, especially for women, right? And there's always other backdoor option where you want to be a happy mom, which is totally fine, right? But for me, being this driver, my mom is a doctor, my dad is a doctor. So basically the driver was always, okay, so I'll be going into science and pursue doctor, or I would be an engineer, right? Being an engineer was like kind of a rebel, especially because my both parents are doctors. But it also came in from my dad, literally like kind of telling me, hey, why do you want to work so hard? And why don't you want to just be an engineer where you can be in an AC room, air conditioned room, and you can still work rather than sweating and doing surgeries? So that sounded like an interesting option. And it was a like very I would say easy decision for me to get into computer science and science as a background, because math as a background, because I was really while starting young, I was really passionate about problem solving, and uh, was giving me kick every time I would solve like something complicated, which till date does that to me. I get the adrenaline rush every time I solve something that probably nobody else solved, or something that was tough, or deemed to be tough, right?
Mhm.
So yeah, it was a natural choice for me, computer science. And once I got into my undergrad program, even though the choice was not like so brooded upon, it just fell in place. You have good teachers, good students, and something to kind of get you psyched up and excited about. So
Yeah, absolutely. I am much the same. I also grew up in I think you would call it a business
yeah.
family. Like literally my family is run like a business. Like we have
Right. That's
little
my husband.
check-ins. Yeah.
Yeah.
And we used to have like family meetings when one of us did something wrong.
Oh
like,
boy,
retrospective.
that's always tough one. And I was that brings back funny memories for me, because we never used to have like family meetings. But when I used to do something wrong, I was a very naughty child.
Me too.
My
Yay.
Yeah, my daughter still says that to me, like, you have no right to complain about me, because look at you, how, my mom always complains, like, how naughty I was. There was no family meetings, it was just me running around, like, them trying to catch me. So that, if I
Yeah.
do something wrong, that's what used to happen.
Yeah, absolutely. I was always naughty, outspoken,
Yep.
like moody, and I I'm the
Were
youngest
you the
of,
youngest in the family?
yeah, yeah.
Same here.
Is
I
it
think we have too
nice?
much in common.
Yeah.
I was excused on every single thing because I was the little one. Like, I was the youngest one in
Yeah.
my mom's side of the family, and like almost the youngest in my dad's side of family. So it's
Yeah.
like, it's funny that I got married into the eldest in the family, like
Oh
my
yeah.
husband's side. It was like complete contrast.
That's so funny. Yeah. The oldest is usually, the leader, and
Yes. And
yeah.
also more silent and more, I would say my sister, right? Like my
Yeah.
sister was the eldest. So she used to be more mature. I think you get maturity much younger in your
Oh
age,
yeah.
when you're growing up, if you're the eldest one.
Oh, absolutely. Because usually, I mean, according to my husband, he babysat his,
All the
siblings like
brothers,
all the
yeah.
time. Yeah, he
Yeah.
has he has a bunch of brothers. Yeah.
Same
So
here. My husband, they are five. They're family of five. So siblings, five
yeah.
siblings.
Yeah, it was really weird for me to like marry into a family of mostly boys because I come
Right.
from all girls.
All
Like
girls. Oh
we're all
boy.
girls. Yeah.
Shelly, what's
Yeah.
happening? It's like same, like my mom's
Oh my
side,
God.
everybody's girls,
Yeah.
and my husband's side, all are boys. A
Oh
lot of
yeah.
boys.
Yeah. It's crazy. And I'm just like, this is so weird. But in tech, I'm perfectly accustomed to being the only woman in
Only one,
places and
yeah.
stuff. So yeah, I was I was fine with it.
And also
Um,
that, funny that you mentioned that, because I remembered something, like, back in the day when I finished my graduation and I joined as a rookie, like, in Wipro Technologies, where I was like, the only dev in the whenever they saw like girls, which are rookies, they used to put them in like, QA,
mhm,
for the most part, quality testing, assurance, and like, probably something along those lines. And it was so funny because it was only me and one another girl. Only two of us were in dev. It's just because we picked it, like everybody else picked quality assurance for the most part. Yeah, it was kind of like, there I started feeling, oh, many women, like, either want to be more into quality testing, or maybe they're forced into that, like, department.
exactly. Yeah. I think that for programming, we're really like rare at the moment. In my experience, there are like so so much fewer women, less women. I don't know how to say that. But
Yeah.
yeah, like
It's
I
getting better though. I mean,
I
it's
hope
it's
so.
definitely getting better. I see
Yeah.
more women now, like, even when we go to symposium,
Mm,
Sitecore, which I miss, which I truly miss, by the way.
I know. In
It's
person.
it's just so much more fun, right? Like hanging out, going out, and it was a lot of fun. So
Yeah.
in the symposium, I came to kind of like, meet a lot of people, and most of them were actually like hands-on. They were coding. So it's like, yeah, I think it's changing. Hopefully it keeps changing and evolving.
I hope so too. And I hope that podcasts like this don't like dissuade people from getting into tech, because I talk about the good stuff, the
Mhm.
successes, all of that, but
Yeah.
also like, like how
But yeah, you
you have to
always need
work
to know the
harder.
other side of the coin too, right? Like otherwise, how
Yeah,
would you appreciate, like, something that is successful? Like you got to
exactly.
always like think about what you did to in order to get there.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. And I think that we really have persisted in this, you
Yes.
know,
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
and especially for like .NET
Mm-hmm.
back end. I think that there are even fewer women. I think
Yeah.
that right now I see, I mean, tons of front end, which
Mm.
is also
Which is
programming.
also cool,
And
I think, because it keeps
absolutely.
growing, because the front
Oh
end world
yeah.
is like literally, and even Sitecore, like that brings us
Hmm.
to anyway, like, .NET and Sitecore
Yeah.
topic, right? Like, so Sitecore is also moving a whole lot onto headless world. and
Yeah.
and me being I was cross functional actually,
Mhm.
before I started with, like, my journey with Verndale and Sitecore again, which I used to work on Sitecore even in my last company, but they were more cross functional. Now in Verndale we have, like, front end team, back end team, and I think it's going to blend the boundaries now that, like, Sitecore is going big time with headless.
Mhm. Absolutely. And I have to say, I haven't even touched the headless stuff yet. And I
Me
really,
neither.
really want to. Okay, good. I don't feel so
Yeah.
bad. Because people
Yeah.
keep asking, like, are you going to make
But
a
I would
course? And
love
I'm
to,
just
though.
like,
I would love to. It's just like, there's no, I mean, you can probably relate. It's just so hard when you have like 10 different projects and like so many different timelines and
totally.
juggling a lot of stuff. But I am interested in getting back to my roots. I had, like, experience with JavaScript, TypeScript, like, I was doing all the knockout stuff.
Yeah.
But now, yeah, I need to get back and try to explore that side of me again.
Same. I actually, now that I think about it, my first Pluralsight course was tactics and tools for troubleshooting front end development. But I'm a
Nice.
C sharp,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
at that time I was more like full stack.
I
And
see. Yeah.
yeah, I learned like Angular a whole lot.
But I think, it helps, right? It helps
Yeah,
having that, like, that knowledge. Even now, like,
yeah,
when I have issues, let's say I'm working on something and I have issues, I kind of know where it falls, only because I think I've had that experience, so kind of
exactly.
comes in handy.
Absolutely. Yeah. Um, I don't really have a good segue to this, but you're a mom. I'm not. And I would really love for people to hear about the experience of having kids and, trying to
Mm,
balance all of this stuff, because as coders, we're constantly having to learn and keep our skills up to date and
yeah.
all of that stuff. So I guess just to start out, how did you feel when you knew I'm going to have a baby?
I mean, this is such a, like, when I was actually like thinking about this, like, brings back so flooding memories into me when I think about it, because this was totally like, I was a baby when I actually knew I was pregnant. I was 24. We
Wow.
were recently married. 3 years down the line, we were not like super into like having a child right away. But me and my husband, now that I think back, like, all my neighbors and all my friends were like freaked out because we were the first ones,
Yeah.
kind of informing that, we are expecting. And they always used to tell us, like, you guys are taking the news so well. Like, I would, like, they were actually much older than me.
Mhm.
They were all like 27, 28, but they were literally telling me I would freak out if I was your age, and, like, we came to know that we are expecting. But me and my husband, we took it like really well, I think. And we took it in a positive note. Like, we always wanted children. So if it's happening, like, let's say 2 years here, 2 years there, it's okay. And like, we truly believe that it's a God's gift. And we continue to pursue the pregnancy. And, we had a baby girl. She, blessed with a really sweet and mature child. She's sometimes even more mature than me. She's now 12. Actually, it was her
Oh my
birthday
goodness.
yesterday.
Yeah.
So she turned 12. She's a big girl. But yeah, I mean, we took the news really well. And the funny part is, I was still doing my master's. When I knew I was expecting, I was doing my master's. I was in my last semester,
Okay.
which was thesis. So I was prepping for thesis, and I did not want to let any of my, graduate coordinator or my professor know that I'm pregnant, because I didn't want them to give me any bonus points, or,
Wow.
kind of, oh, she's already going through a lot. Let's just give, whatever points we want to give it to her, because my goal was maintaining that, like, 4 GPA. which I was really close, and I wanted to get that 4 GPA just on my hard work and effort, and not because of like somebody feeling empathy or sympathy towards me. So I don't know where that came from really, because I was just like so young. But now looking back, I'm like, oh my gosh, I had some really serious thought process. But either way, I mean, I stood up for myself and I did my graduation. And in fact, I told my professor after I got in my grade that I am expecting and I am going to have a baby. And it all happened like, as I said, like, we were not like planning for it. It just happened so suddenly. So for me, like, getting into workforce was really challenging. It was, I would not give it back or take it back or change it for anything, because it taught me who I am right now, like, to be a fighter. But really it was a struggle, because I don't know how much Shelley, about like visa situation of like visa troubles that we encounter when we come from India to here to pursue careers, because we need what we call as sponsorship and visa
Right.
to work here. So it was a constant struggle, because because of the pregnancy and the baby, I had to go back to what we call dependent visa, where you cannot work. So I had to give up my student permission, like we call it, like I think OPT, I don't know if the words have changed now,
Mhm.
where you can do internships or you can do job because you're a student from a university. So I had to give it away, like literally give it away, saying that I can't pursue this because I have to take care of a child who's going to be born. So when I was giving it away, I did not think twice, I did not blink, because for me it was important to get this child out and
Mhm.
get her into the world and be there for her. So I did that. But when I was doing that, I did not know that it was going to be such a challenge to get back to workforce, because every single call I used to get, like based on my experience, based on my past, the first question they used to ask is, are you legally authorized to work here in
Oh,
USA?
yeah.
And they used to say that, sorry, we don't have sponsorship for you,
Yeah.
right? Including Google. Like I got a call from Google, and they were like, we have to get back to you because we don't know whether we can sponsor or not, because the time was hard. I'm talking about 2009 and
Oh, yeah.
2010, when stuff went like really down.
Oh, yeah.
It was the downfall, and I was searching for a job at that time, so it was really hard. So the whole experience has been like quite challenging. Getting back to workforce was not easy at all.
I am like sickened to hear that your visa status, because it's dependent on work, has to change if you're having a child. Is motherhood not work?
Yeah, it's
You
it's
know?
kind of like not as much tying to motherhood, more about like the process in general. Like in my situation, I had to give it up because of motherhood, yes. But they have like this so many policies about visa stuff. It again goes back to yes, rules are helpful, but in some cases, like if you're capable enough, which I knew that I would add value to any company that hires me. I had that confidence in me, but I couldn't interview in many places because of the very reason that they couldn't sponsor me.
Yeah, that's
It was
terrible.
sick. It was
Yeah,
sick.
that's
But yeah,
really just, ugh.
I think kudos to my husband, because he used to keep pushing me. He used to be like, don't give up that easily, like push for it, do whatever you can. And I think I might have interviewed like 30 to 40 places before I actually found a company that was ready to sponsor.
Wow.
Yeah.
30 to 40 places to
Yeah.
find one.
In and around LA. Like Los Angeles is a very broad city. So I was a newbie to driving back then, and I remember me driving 40 miles to 50 miles to attend
Wow,
like an interview. It was crazy.
that is crazy. I will say with Sitecore, um, I was in Maryland and they flew me
Mm.
out to California to interview in person. I was like, I don't know why, but okay, let's do
But
this.
that's fun, right? At least you get to travel. You get to
Yeah,
like see. Yeah,
yeah,
I would have loved that, but like obviously I was taking care of the little one back then.
right.
She was too tiny to leave her like any place. And luckily my parents came back from India. I told them, it's a funny thing. I called them and I'm like, if you guys are not coming to help me, I will be not working. Just be happy, because they worked really hard to bring me up as an independent, as a professional, as a person who gives it all in. So I had to tell them, if you don't come and help me, it takes a village, like they say, right? Like
Yeah.
they have to come to help with the child, so I can pursue my interviews and driving to the places and all of that.
That's amazing. Yeah,
Yeah.
because I'm sure, segue into our next uh topic, but one of the things that prevented me from like really trying to
Mm-hmm.
have children was time off for that process.
Yeah.
Here in
Yeah.
the States, you have to take short-term
Only
disability.
3 months, which is kind of, I mean,
3 months
sorry,
is
I don't
no,
want to use bad words, but it's like not enough,
go ahead. It's
like
fucking stupid.
I know, because see, think about it. Like 3 months, the child is still like too vulnerable, too tiny. And if you compare with like UK, my sister is a doctor in UK. She took 6 months, like probably part-time paid or whatever have you, and then another 3 months of like 1/4 pay, and another 3 months of like no pay. But she was with the daughter for like almost a year.
Yeah,
So I feel like you need at least a year before you can,
you do.
kind of without any hesitation,
Mhm.
send the child to daycare. And which is exactly what I did. I did not plan for it, but because of our talk about the visa story, it just happened to take me that much time to get like to a position where I'm like ready to interview, ready to get there, and stuff like that. So I think I had my first interview ever on my daughter's first birthday. Like it
Oh,
was a good memory because that was my first interview, and that's when I wanted to get back into the workforce. 1 year, that was my goal. So I did take a break of 1 year, but I do have like many friends who went like right after 3 months. um, my point was really like very clear. It's like I can't give my 100% either here or there, and I chose to give my 100% to my daughter for the first 1 year, and then I was ready to give, make partition of myself into some into my daughter and some into the workforce.
absolutely. And I mean, your body has been through
Yeah.
a
Hell,
lot.
a
A
lot.
lot.
I mean, you can say hell too. It's like,
Hell, yeah.
yeah. I mean, I don't know if I can talk about it, but yeah, I had like 48
Sure.
hour labor, like,
Mhm.
literally 48-hour labor where like 3 days I was on no food. Mine was like extreme case. I think my doctor was also like very empathetic about me having to deal with like such prolonged labor. Yeah, but it was like, yeah, tough labor, tough. The whole process. But yeah, it goes through a lot, and you need a break. And also, you need to you're totally being the caretaker of somebody, new
Mhm.
person in your life, so it's a lot of adjustment.
I'm sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
I have two nieces, and they're both in college now. I feel so old because they
Yeah.
graduated the year that I graduated from college. Or they were born the year I graduated from
Oh.
college. And I remember my sister had hives like all
Oh
over her
yeah.
body for
Yeah.
weeks. She was
Yeah, yeah. and
miserable.
and it's like, your body is also
Yeah.
adjusting, right?
Oh,
Like it's
yeah.
like, even my sister-in-law, like last year she had a baby, and it was so hard to see her because she was like, she had like terrible edema. So all of our bodies react differently when we go through the whole deal. I mean, is it absolutely worth it? 100% worth it, because it's
Sure.
like a new
Yeah.
human. You're bringing a new human in here. I
Absolutely.
mean, like it's like a tremor. I just can't believe it. Like, even when I see my daughter walk around me, I'm like, I can't believe she was in me, and like now she's walking and telling me to be more mature. It's like so funny.
It's a miracle,
It's a
and
miracle.
it's
Nothing less than
just
a miracle.
amazing.
Yeah, for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Actually, I think it's a miracle that women are able to take, more than 10 times the amount of pain of
Right.
the most extreme.
I,
Yeah,
I, I,
like
I wouldn't say if I was a champ. I'm really like, when it comes to work, I'm like fearless. When it comes to like, saying out loud things like what I feel in my head, I'm fearless. But
love
when it
it.
comes to health, And when it comes to pain, I'm not good. And I accept it. Like, I'm being humble about it. I'm
Yeah.
not good. So I troubled the doctors, I troubled my husband, I troubled everybody around me, like, through that process. Because yeah, as I said, like, I think my case was like a little bit on the rough side with the whole labor and delivery side of situation.
Wow.
But yeah, it's been 12 years now. So it's
That's
like,
amazing. Yeah.
yeah.
Um, yeah. So after having the children, after taking off a year, by the
Mhm.
way, I just wanted to note in Europe, it is
Mhm.
standard to give both the mother and the
And the
father
father.
paid leave for a year. Now,
Yep.
it isn't like full pay, right?
Yeah, it's half. I think they do
Half,
half, and it also
yeah.
depends on like your profession too. Like sometimes I
Mhm.
think like where you work, the organization you work, and also
Sure.
your job profile. But
Mhm.
for my sister, I remember her telling me like first 6 months was half. I think first 3 months is full pay, and like then it goes into half, then partial, then one fourth, and you're good to kind of continue if you want to.
Yeah. Still, though, I think that it would be really nice if governments would
They
give
should do it.
full pay,
Yeah,
because parenting is a full-time job, and people who have children and a job, you are working two jobs. I,
you're working
I
two
would say,
jobs and you're not happy.
yeah,
Like I
it's too
mean,
much.
I don't know about like, again, it depends on the situation. So there's no good or bad, or there's no right or wrong in
Sure.
this. But yeah, I mean, for me, it was so hard to just give like a small, tiny baby to someone else, like maybe nanny. You need so much trust. I know you need to have the trust. You need to develop that trust. But
Mhm.
like first couple weeks, like how do you do that? Like I don't know. I cannot fathom it. Like
Yeah,
3 month old, like so tiny.
so tiny, and you're
Yeah.
what, trying to work from home and
And all this
hire care,
pumping and
hire somebody to like take
uh,
care of your 3 month old. No, no, thank
yeah,
you. I would never
yeah.
do it.
I
Yeah.
mean, now with the pandemic, I feel like, one thing that we all learned is we can do things without getting out from the house,
Oh
like,
yeah.
work from home, right? So I feel like the government and officials who are responsible for this need to think of it in a new perspective, and maybe like, provide policies such as work from home. Because again, if you have a nanny and a support at the house, you're still happy to be in the room and like be there for the child, see
Right.
the child like, a couple times a day. It's bond with them, like whenever you have breaks between the calls, it would be like a good experience, I would say, a win-win.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly. And I would love nothing more than
yeah,
to see that change.
yeah.
So again, like, you've just had a kid. You've taken off a year. How
Mhm.
did you reacclimate yourself to work when also you have this new human life?
Yeah, so that was really hard. I will not kind of like, paint a different picture than like
Oh yeah,
absolutely
the
hard.
absolute truth.
Yeah, so it was hard, especially because like, when kids are young, you put them in the daycare, they fall sick. I think top one, battle for me was dealing with a sick child over the weekend, get her better, drop her off to daycare again, and get back to work again. So it was like it was this constant turmoil or battle within myself.
Mhm.
Like, then, we women start questioning ourselves, right? Like, am I doing the correct thing? Should I quit? Many instances came into my mind that should I quit? Like, should I be make my child the top priority right now
Yep.
because she's battling, she had pneumonia. After like, 5 months into daycare, they get exposed to various different viruses and
Exactly. Yeah.
bacteria. So for me, I mean, I keep telling my husband too, even now, once in a while, I'm like, did I do a wrong thing? Should I have quit, like, or whatnot? But the only thing that kept me going was the amount of hard work I actually did to get back into workforce. Like I
Mm.
mentioned, it was really hard for me. Interviewed like 30, 40 places, had to battle for my visa situation. And I'm like, you know what? I will hang in there. And I think, for all of this to work, I have to give kudos to everybody around me, right?
Mhm.
It was not it was not easy at all. Like I mentioned, it was super hard. But what made it subtly easier was my managers, was my colleagues, was
Mhm.
my husband, everybody around me, right? Like, who did that extra effort and who were extra nice to support me through this rough period. So my first job, like, that I had in US, they actually sponsored my visa and all of that. The manager there literally asked me to go back home when I went to office. He stopped me. I still remember this till date. Gives me goosebumps every time I think about it. He stopped me while I was entering the office and he told me, "What are you doing here?" Then I'm like, work. He's like, "No, you don't need to work. Our company is not going to stop just because you won't work like couple more days. I want you to pack everything, go back home." And he said, "Your child needs you, go back home." And I told him, like, my husband has taken off, it's fine. And he's like, "You know what, when kids are not well, they don't need husband, they need mom. You're going back." Like, that was the sweetest gesture ever. And, like, sometimes these little things go a long way, right? Like, because they were so appreciative and supportive of me, I went above and beyond every single time there was like a huge issue, or, like, they need me to work 14 hours, 15 hours. It didn't matter, right? Like,
Wow,
because they were so sweet when I needed them to be sweet.
that's amazing. And I
Yeah.
completely misunderstood you earlier. I was making a face because I thought that your manager was telling you to go home because he thought that you weren't capable of,
No, no,
like,
absolutely not. And
yeah,
then, that's why I was saying, like, sick children is a top thing. I think that puts back pedal on many women. And in fact, like, even my neighbor and a very dear friend, she had to quit because her manager was not supportive, especially with the young children, right? Like, with young children, you have to take more work from homes. You have to support them when they're not well, because, think about it. When you have cold, cough, or flu, would you want to work or would you want to sleep? Right? It
right.
same applies to the children. Like, you drop them in the daycare when they're not well, like, they're not having fun, you are not happy, and you're not 100% even at the workforce. So
Exactly. Yeah. I've worked with a lot of moms. And one of them stands out in particular. She was like this rock star. I don't know, but every time her kids were sick or whatever, she would show up to meetings like with the kid. And that
yeah,
was totally fine. I just like in the grand scheme of things, generally, if a man does that, he's a good parent. If a woman does that, it's like, ugh, she's, a mom
yeah,
and she
stereotyping,
shouldn't
right?
work.
Like, that's
Yeah.
that's the stereotype. But I think, again, that's where, like, again, every company is different, their policies are
Mhm.
different, right? So in my ex company, the policy was, you will not be 100% anyway, even if you work. Go home, take rest, take care of the child. And it worked out well for me. But again, like, same company, my neighbor, she was in the same company, but the manager was different. So it depends highly on, like, who you're working for and what your team is and dynamics is in general.
Yeah.
But I would say, like, sick children are priority. You got to cater for them, and everything else can wait. Come on, again, like, this is, again, we have to be a village, right? Like, if women
Mhm.
have to work, have to give their 100%. When women needs to be there for their family, people around them have to be willing to provide that support.
Absolutely. Yeah. There are so many things that companies should do to
Right.
support moms. One of them that I love to hear is having a lactation room.
Right.
But hopefully that room has a lock on it so that people can't come in there. I'm talking
Yeah.
about Blizzard. I don't know if you game or anything like
Yeah,
that,
I
but
know Blizzard. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, they just, well, at the time of this recording,
Uh,
they're going through legal stuff, and one of
oh
the
boy.
complaints was that men would just walk into the lactation room unannounced and not leave if there
Oh,
was a woman in there lactating, and that's not okay.
that's
That's
not okay.
it's
Yeah,
a
yeah,
private thing, especially because generally if you're in an office and you're doing that, you're pumping, right?
yeah.
So, like, yeah, that's even more
Yeah,
private, I'd
that's
say.
why that's why medically, right, medically speaking, and again, it's a woman's choice to kind of, like, lactate for longer if needed. Medically speaking, 1 year is at least, right? To ensure that the kid gets the immunity that they deserve, the children are
Oh,
safe. So 1 year, like, if US can make rule changes and let women work from home at least for like 1 year, then I feel like these battles are not battles anymore. Like,
exactly.
it's like
Just these
you don't have
like
to worry about
small
it at all.
changes
Small
in like
changes.
policies and,
Yeah, and also now, like I said, like they will know real cases now, how we are all coping working from home, and we're still doing, like, awesome job at everything that we are doing, right? Like,
right.
working from home, working from beach, working wherever you want to, the end point is like you're working and you're providing, you're being productive. So yeah, I think rule changes should happen.
Absolutely. Um, I think that one of the problems we have is that this idea of like perfection is thrust
Hmm.
upon us, and now it's like women are mothers,
Yeah.
they're like housekeepers, they're full-time
Four jobs at
professionals
four
and stuff.
jobs, I would say,
Four
at least
jobs
four jobs.
at once.
Yeah.
Why do you think that we internalize this perfection, and how do we let it go? I'm seriously asking because I'm like this.
Yeah, and I think it has to do, like, and again, like, culturally it might be different here in US and where I stem from, like, back in India, right? So we're always taught to be like, kind of, oh, we have to look a certain way, we have to, when we go out, like, I see a tremendous change between me and my husband, not to compare, like, when we go out, right? Like, uh, I want to look good. I want to make sure I'm putting my best foot forward. My husband is like, he'll wear something and he's like casually getting out of the house. And some days I wish like I can be like him, right? Like,
Yes.
I just want to wear something and I just want to walk out without being judged. That's the underline, right? Like, because I feel like women are judged more than men, firstly upon looks, and that
Mhm.
stems into your work. I mean, again, like everybody's experiences are different, values are different, where they come from are different, but for me, like that urge to be perfect, meaning, like, just the flip side of it, very scared of failure, like very scared of, what if I do this and if things mess up, like, will I be questioned, will I be put in, like, through, like, maybe some investigation, I don't know, I mean, like, additional questions or whatnot. So for me, this has always been like, if there is a project and my name is on it, I want it to be successful, I want it to launch well, I want everybody to kind of like, kind of say, wow, the project is great. But over the years, what I realized is having a successful project every single time does is not a mandate. Sometimes failures are okay, and this actually, what I found is, doesn't apply just for projects, it applies for your, house chores, it applies for what you think about your children, your husband, everybody around you, right? Like, I feel like we judge ourselves so much and we set like so much high standard for ourselves, which is not needed. Like, now there are few days I go with my hair tied up, I just go out, I walk out because I'm like, I don't feel like it. Like, today I want to be a random girl who just wears random things and goes out for whatever, right? And if somebody judges, I try to kind of tell myself that it's their thought process and not mine. Internally, I'm still what I am, and I don't care what others feel or think about me. And it's a really hard thing to digest, right? Like, and do also, there are few days where I'm like, oh shit, their thoughts about that, why did they think that about me? Like, I don't look like that, or I don't behave like that. So internalizing all of this is really hard, like, to say that it's their choice, they think whatever they want to think and I want to be me. But yeah, letting go of that perfection is the best thing that happened to me. And that's why I keep talking about it, because yeah, I know, like, we're all culturally different, we're all like coming from different backgrounds, but at the end we all think probably similarly, like there is some like common factor between all of that.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think that just you you spoke to me. I just need to like let it go. But
Yeah.
masks actually help me. I go out so much more in public with no makeup on because I
Yeah,
have on a mask, because
that's a in some way helping, right? Like, one good point
totally.
about the mask.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
like overall, the minute that I turned 40, I was just like, I'm just going to go out
Yeah,
in
I think
public
maturity,
without
like,
some
I
time.
think when you grow in
Mhm.
age, I think there is this like love for yourself that increases more, and
Yeah.
respect for yourself increases more. And I think I see that with my young child, right? Like, I mean, she's growing, she's in that tween age. The
Mhm.
insecurities are so much. Even though I'm a advocate of like letting go, my daughter doesn't let go. So I have to keep on behind her, like, what, chillax, it's fine. uh, you have to trust yourself more, you have to be more confident in your own skin. But one day she'll learn it, but now she's like going through that tween phase.
Oh, the tween phase.
Yep.
Yeah, that takes me back. Oh my God. Like we were talking about earlier, I was naughty
Yeah, yeah, she's
as a
not though.
tween.
She's a girly girl and
That's good.
very, very like straight. Okay, this is right, this is wrong, I cannot be naughty, like unlike me, like totally
Yeah.
unlike me.
That's great. I really wish I think I'm gonna have to have you back for like a part two at some point because we haven't covered some of the talking points, but
Hmm.
I should wrap this up. And I just wanted to know what advice you have for women who have a, job and then also a family.
Yeah, I think picking and choosing your battles, I think, like, take it by the day. That's what I did. And till date, my neighbor who actually quit asked me, how the hell did I do it? Like, with a child who's sick every weekend and dropping her back was a nightmare. But you have to toughen up. You have to make a heart of, like, I think a rock, to some extent. I mean, again, not making it like completely blank off or anything like that. But yeah, that's what helps when you have a family to take care of and also work that's demanding. You have to kind of pick your battles and choose what's more important. Prioritization shouldn't happen just at workforce, it has to happen at home.
Absolutely. I keep lists, and I'm sure a lot of people can, relate to that. as
Right.
as women, we're often
Yeah.
organized and have
Hmm.
lists. I've actually heard of people that manage their families using agile, like seriously,
No,
and they have
that's
like
a good,
stand-ups.
yeah, that's a good tactic too, right? Like, you
Yeah,
basically prioritize what's important in front of you right now, like
exactly.
based
Yeah,
on the tasks in front of you, what takes more priority. Like, if
sure.
my kid more needs me more than a project, sorry, sorry Verndale, sorry everybody, yeah, it's my kid.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Well, to wrap up, do you have any like speaking
Engagements and things
engagements
like that.
or yeah.
Um, I mean, I don't have anything right now
Mhm.
because Sitecore Symposium is closed, but
Yeah.
looking forward to next year's symposium and next opportunities to speak. I always sign up, but obviously, like, they get so many submissions that they only pick like certain topics that resonate with their theme and whatnot for every year. But I was lucky enough to participate 3 years consecutively at Sitecore Symposium for the talks. So looking
Yep.
forward to next year. Hopefully that 2022 will bring in more luck. But yeah, nothing happening at the moment. I think I continue to blog. I love blogging. I blog my heart out on problem solving or any other interesting topics. So people can visit my blog unravelsitecore.com, and that's pretty much it.
Awesome. Thank you so much for being here again. Like I would love to have you back because we have a lot of other topics that we could cover too. We have so
No,
much in
thank you.
common.
Thanks for having me. And I was so surprised to see so many things in common, and like, things resonating with you, Shelley, because obviously we both are from very different backgrounds, right?
Yes.
And we are connecting. So that just means that women are women no matter where we are from, right? So that's really exciting. And yeah, I was psyched to be here. And thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. If you want to support us, please like, subscribe, and share this episode with your fellow gems. Let me know in the comments what other topics you would like me to cover, and follow Tiaras and Tech on social media. Thanks for watching or listening, and have a great day.
Thank you.